Hi, today I'm going to show you how to compile your C++ homework code on Linux. To download the skeleton code, you can go to the page for the homework you're working on, in this case, homework 0, and you can scroll down below question 3. On the C++ tab, you'll see a button here to download the skeleton code. I've already went ahead and downloaded the skeleton code and moved it to a directory called homework 0. And here we can see all the files included in the homework. Let me open this up in VS Code so that you can see the file tree. Driver.cpp will handle all the input and output for you. You don't have to worry about editing anything in this file. And the utility files just include functionality used by the driver. Solution.cpp is where you're going to implement the method in the homework specifications. This is the file that you will upload to AutoGrader and the only file you'll need to modify. For testing, we include 3 of the 10 tests used on AutoGrader. The test cases folder has the inputs for each test, while the outputs folder has the expected outputs. So now that we're acquainted with the file structure, let's try getting the program to run. So from the homework 0 directory, we can compile the code using the command g++. We're going to get a set of flags saying the standard we're using is C++11. And then we're going to specify the name of the file that we're going to do, which is driver.cpp. And now after compiling our code, we can see that it's been compiled into a program called a.out. And to run our program, we can do the command /a.out and then specify an input that we're going to be using. In this case, I'll just do input1.txt. And then we see our output. And that's what we should expect, just an empty vector, since we didn't really implement anything. This is all you need to start compiling and testing your code locally, but doing this process every time can get a bit tedious. There are a few ways you can go about speeding this up, and I'll show you how to do so using a makefile, which should be familiar to you if you are taking or have taken CSE 220. So I'm just going to create a new file, just called makefile, no extensions, and then I'm going to open that up and start writing to it. So to start off, I will start by setting a few variables. So the compiler we're using is G++. And then we want to set some flags. So we're going to do that standard equals C++11 that we previously did. And then I'm going to add in 2 new flags. So O0 and -G. What these will do is if you want to debug your program using GDB, it'll make it play nicely with it. Without these flags, you'll find GDB won't work too well when debugging C++ code. And then I'll just set another variable called t, which will be the default test I'll use, and set that to 1. Now let's start making our rules. So to compile the code, I'll just make one called compile. And to compile, we're going to want to use G++. So I'm going to use that variable I previously created using $, and then inside parentheses, we're going to specify that variable, and that will put whatever value is in that variable in this rule. And then I'm also going to go ahead and use that flags variable we previously created. And then the file name that we're going to want to run every time is driver.cpp. All right, so that is going to handle compilation for us. And so that we don't have to compile and then run manually, I'm going to make a rule called run, which is going to depend on compile. So compile will be ran before run every single time. And that's going to call our a.out program. And then going to specify the input is going to be inside test cases. And then we're going to use that test variable for the default test. .txt. So it's going to call input1 by default. And then one last rule here, I'll just make a clean rule in case I want to remove that program after compiling it. So I'm going to remove any file with the extension .out. All right, so let's test it out. Now I see all my files here, and if I do make clean, that should remove that a.out file. Perfect. If I do make compile, that should recompile the program automatically for me. If I want to compile the program and run it, I can do make run. and then there we see our output again. Now say I want to do a different test case. Well, since I set that variable t, I can do make run t equals 2, and then that will run test 2 instead. Now that you have all the tools you need to compile your homework code, that will conclude this video. Thank you.